van! You hear it?
It is necessary for the recording of sound to convert the sound waves to corresponding changes in light. The sound waves produced by my voice are transmitted through the air to the microphone, where these sound waves are converted to changes in an electric current. These variations in the electric current are then amplified and used to control the light. This varying beam of light falling on the photoelectric cell produces variations in the electric current, which are directly proportional to the variations in the light beam. The sound track. As the varying electrical current in the photoelectric cell is small, a vacuum tube amplifier is required to increase it to the point where it will operate a loudspeaker. Soundtrack.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Occult Rejects. Today is a very exciting episode for me. I have been listening to this person's work for probably over a year now. I was a huge fan of the Janus stuff that he had covered, and I will say even this series had taught me things and showed me things in occultism that I was like surprised at. I was like, how did I never see that? How did I never catch that? So this is really exciting for me because I'm bringing somebody on that has actually taught me a lot and didn't even know it. And to make it any better, I got Teresa joining me in the co-host seat today. What is up, T? How is it? What's going on?
T, you never called me that before. That's new. I know, you're trying to think of like new things to introduce me as, probably, right? I know. I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. And it's we got to see you again. We've seen each other a lot lately again. Very nice.
Yeah,
well, we recorded, what, 3 times, a week and a half ago, and now today?
Yeah, that's true. We squeezed in some last week, and this one today. This might be the last, I feel, before my kids go back to school.
Oh, well, that's only another couple of weeks anyway. So.
Yeah, summer's a tough time for me. It's very stressful being a stay-at-home mom. They're upstairs watching Harry Potter right now, so hopefully they don't come down and, like, hijack the broadcast. They're like, I want to go downstairs and play Madden. I'm like, no, you can't come down right now.
Not for an hour, at least.
Stay with Harry Potter upstairs.
Thank you very much for coming on again. Like I said, I appreciate it.
Of course.
And now, finally, to get to the guest, I've got Paul from What the Flock TV. Paul, please let everybody know who you are. I'm just assuming most of the people that listen to me probably already know who you are because of the stuff that you cover. But if there's a couple of listeners who unfortunately don't know who you are yet, please let them know.
No, it's a secret. It's a cult, so I can't tell anyone. Bye. No, I'm only joking. If, like I said, I don't know who watch. I can say a few names that are who I know go on my channel. So hello to them. And hello to the panel and guests. Thanks for having me on. If anyone doesn't know who I am, I don't know how I can describe myself. A bit different, sometimes hard to understand my accent, and sometimes when I get excited, I talk too quick. But I'm just like you guys. I'm just intrigued in things I'm not aware of or what I don't understand. And when I see patterns in this reality, I like to put them in the video and just to show it's good to be different, and it's good to show what you find, because surely we're here to share whatever we find so the next guy along can take that and expose it even more. So, yeah, if anyone wants to describe me in one word, it'd be different.
I think that's different. All of us here, I would think.
Unique.
Yes. You know, besides the topic that we'll get into, Janus, besides that, and the Seagate, which I highly suggest people to go check out his Seagate. Really good, interesting episode. Do you want to just maybe let people know about a couple other things like that you've covered on your show that you want to like promote, or that like you're really proud of, and be like, you know, this, I did this, go check this out?
I would probably say one of my most, you know, because sometimes it's not what got your biggest views.
Oh, no, of course, of course.
And for me, it's my crystal matrix video, where I just show you how important crystals are to our existence, from our skeleton being made of crystal People talk about the pineal gland, it's crystal. People talk about all the other things in the body, the teeth, your hearing, all crystal. So why, and that's what the video is about, the firmament crystal, liquid crystal, to my perspective. So all things like this, in this video, I show just how important crystals really are to, and you'd be shocked, and then not shocked. But for instance, some people believe in Christ, crystal, Christ, owl, Christ, God, straight in crystal straight away. And it says it there. And a lot of these ancient occultists from the past, like John Dee, etc., all had crystals. You knew the importance of crystals. And that's what's in this video. It's just showing you the importance of crystals in our daily life that you wouldn't be, you wouldn't be surprised by, but you would as soon as you say, oh, wow, like our teeth, our skeleton, 65% crystal. And that is showing you basically the energy on how we oscillate and transfer energy. Because you're basically walking crystal receivers and transmitters. Hence why, we're easily programmable. Because if you think about it, when you have tuning forks, the more powerful one will offset the least powerful one. So that is why frequencies affect us really bad. Because obviously we're mainly crystal.
Doesn't crystal hold memory in it? Does crystal hold memory or no?
Yeah. It's like water. Water has crystal.
This one when you're saying programmable, it's like, ooh, I could really see that.
The guy who invented IBM, but the chief fella for IBM, is it Vogel? He talks about how when he looked at crystals under a microscope, they actually basically morphed and changed to whatever he was thinking.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? He then went on to make famous crystals that you can see people use, but I theorize from the firmament to everything is basically crystallized based. So that is one of the videos I'm proud of. But there's so much more that I've done on my channel and forgot.
I'm going to have to check that out because that actually sounds like something I'd really be interested in listening to.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Wild because
people have said like it's one of their favorites, like, and it's really shocks them. Because you go into everything. Like, for instance, people talk about, where do we live, what realm we're in, the firmament, etc. And I said, look, it's liquid crystal. Have a look what your Bible says. Then I show you, like, the Northern Lights. Well, I'll show you some liquid crystal. It's moving insane. You know what I mean? So if anyone who's not watched it, I do recommend to watch it. You would.
That's really
enjoy it.
Not to get like too out there, and I'm going to get back into like what the topic of the show's about, but not to get too out there, but like I've even thought about like certain things with TVs. I've even wondered, like, is it like using stuff that kind of in the human body to actually replicate the visual? Like, plasma TVs. Yeah. That's part of the screen. We have plasma. Crystal TVs. We have, it's just very weird how like things that would go along with being in the human body is also associated, at least by name, with a thing that is showing you an image. I found that weird one day. I guess I was probably stoned and just thinking weird stuff. And I just thought about that for a few seconds. I was like, maybe something behind that.
Well, look, for instance, the lighting you use to get that spark is a crystal inside the lighter. Piezoelectric effect.
Yeah.
You hit two crystals together and it creates sparks. For instance, lightning. People talk about how lightning is created. It's basically showing you pressure being put down on the firmament or underneath creates piezoelectric effects, creates sparks. It's lightning.
Yo, that's cool.
That's wild. Shit.
That's God striking a match, basically, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, what's above the firmament? People talk about the water's above, water's below. What is water? The pressure of the water bearing down on you will create these sparks in the firmament.
That's wild.
Which is liquid crystal. And it has three properties: gas, solid, and liquid.
All right. It's funny. There's even been things that I think I've probably covered on my show that like didn't do as well, but like I could say like I'm more proud of that than things that did better. So I understand what you're getting at, and to me, it was probably stuff that was more informational and enlightening than like a hot topic. So I totally understand what you're getting at, and that's great stuff though. That you can still say that you're proud of that. I got to check that out. Moving forward, he is on because I had came across him from his Janus work. He has the usual suspects, and again, I said I'm confused because I have seen his work reposted on other YouTube channels. I don't know if you even knew that, but I know for a fact I've seen your stuff on other channels, not necessarily your channel. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure you have multiple episodes on Janus on your channel, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm ever learning.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure
I
you
don't
did.
stop, and it's weird. You guys will probably have the same experience. When you start to look at a subject, it seems to find you. And this is what happens with Janus. When I originally started, I couldn't find anything on it. And then when I started to show people, when the mindset, the manifestation of this, I started to show them the biggest secret ever, it exploded. And we'll get into some of the things today. It will shock you. And people think, well, you're making it up. Well, I'm not, because well, anyone can make anything up, really. But if it's in a book, it can be made up just as much as TV, computers, anything. I can't grab a 16th century book and say, listen, is this fact or fiction? I'm just showing you what the information states. And I believe it's one of the biggest cover-ups ever to hide the secret of what Janus is, because he's the god of gods. They state it, not me, in ancient poems. They say he is god of gods. They pray to him first.
Well, real quick, just I hate to interrupt, but like, that's how that is how I came across your work. Due to, I guess, like research, my own magical experiences from messing with the occult and magic in the past, and starting to look into stuff that has to do with like the brain, I had started to think that there was a lot of Janus symbolism that people do not realize. And I just had a feeling like there is more to his symbolism than I think people realize, more than I even knew. And I started trying to find stuff about him myself, and that's how I found your stuff. So it's funny. Your stuff came to me when I was looking for it, and that's how I found out about you.
It is crazy.
Yeah. But you really, you have the usual suspects. I highly suggest that. If I had, this guy for 2 or 3 hours, I may have asked him to try to do that on here, but he will go through all these god names and show you like how they kind of go back. And I think it's some serious work, and I think it's something to think about, at least take into consideration. But back to you. You can go into Janus.
Like, first thing you talking about that video, that's one in the middle sometimes. Like I said, I forget anything I've done the other day. But what it is I wanted to, do you know when you want to put a challenge to yourself? I said, like, I've researched this topic for a couple of years now, and I want to challenge myself. Can I find, not like through my own work, evidence, people saying Janus is this god from A to Z or Z, wherever we come from. And I managed it.
Yeah.
And I've learned even more since then. And I'm like, I'm shocked, because how has this got past a lot of people? I'm not like special. I'm just myself, like you guys. You're intrigued by things that you can't see. Or if anyone tells you don't do that, you do that just out of being stubborn, or the intrigue of why they're telling you not to do that. Because this topic, if I go talking in any group on social media, I get kicked out within 10 minutes. Note, I got mocked by high-profiling people in the community for showing this Janus. I was mocked. I found pictures of myself going around, look at what this idiot is doing now. He's saying it's this, he's saying it's that.
Oh, wow, really?
That's not cool.
And that is why I'm hard to find, because I've noticed if I go into a group and someone says, oh, Saturn worship, and I say, well, did you know Saturn is based on Janus, according to this? Janus is the archetype, hence he's god of arches. And they're like, oh, no. I said, well, listen, it's just information. There's no need to get triggered. That's all it is, information. How are we possible going to say if this book is more accurate than your book? There's no way of proving it. We don't know if that guy was being lied to or just making shit up. We don't know. So we just have to be honest. And this topic is the topic. People talk about the rabbit hole. Did you know the rabbit hole's connected to Janus? He is the white rabbit.
Well, see, I could see that because I see that stuff in the brain around the area that I think Janus is represented. So I get that.
Well, think about it. I don't know over in the States or wherever anyone's listening today, so hello to them. But in the UK, we have like a ritual that your grandparents used to do, and it's gone on for forever. It's like every first day of every month, we say white rabbit 3 times, and it's supposed to bring you good luck.
What?
It's crazy, isn't it? So they used to say
every month?
Every first day of every month, you're supposed to say white rabbit 3 times, and it brings you good luck. So there's the white rabbit. So then when you start researching Janus and find he is basically in charge of the calends, which is every first day of every month is a calends. That name became the calendar. So he sits and stands over the calendar. That's why they moved him first. So you theory, you're saying every first day of every month, you're going, white rabbit, it's Janus, because it's his day. And then when you go in watching films like The Matrix, and they're knocking on Neo's door, the 1, what is his room number? 101. 11. Follow the white rabbit. So they're telling the 1 to follow the white rabbit.
Rabbit ears, 101.
And that's the rabbit hole. So in essence, he's got a doorways, portals, arches, amongst many things. So when you go down the portal, down the rabbit hole, you're going down a portal because you're going from A to B. He's a god of transitions, A to B. He is the alpha and the omega, A to B, A to the Z, end. So this is what made me go, wow, surely this is not right what I'm seeing here. Because it shocked me. It's like, if I can see that, can you see this? And that's why I started posting it. And I quickly found out that it goes against a lot of people in, like the so-called top dogs in every part of in the community. They didn't like this information being shown because why are they not researching it? I've had people who claim to be Janus himself.
What?
Honestly. And I get attacked by his cult. So, you know what I mean? I have this. And then when you look deeper into this, you're like, surely that can't be. Surely I'm seeing something. You know, when sometimes you're like, damn, you hit yourself and like, wake up. It's like, is this true?
Yeah, what
so
did
that's what basically made me really go into it. And then as I'm progressing, learning, and people are sending me more stuff, the idea changes, it morphs. And it's a beautiful thing when you feel and see something that not many people have, and you're taking it a little bit further, because there's a lot of people starting to research Janus now. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of it. And I want to expose and show people that these Cabal who we are exposing, they worship him as the god of gods. From Hollywood, transgender, transitioning, it's just all him. The Actors Guild has 2 faces. Comedy and drama. So he is what everyone seems to look for. And that's why, for instance, when you're at school, the janitor, what does a janitor have?
Keys.
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 Stop.
That's what he's named after. That janitor is named after Janus.
Yeah, because the other word is custodian, right?
Yeah. So he has all the keys. And what is this realm made of? Frequency, but frequency keys. Frequency keys. He has everything. So he's in charge. For instance, when you watch Bruce Almighty and he's talking to God, and it's Morgan Freeman, what does he have on his head? He has a baseball cap with the New York on.
You know what's interesting? You're talking about the keys and the frequencies. I do think, like, when it comes to the Kabbalah, I think Janus is like pretty much the highest arc of Thoth, who would be down on the 8th sphere. And Thoth, again, with the 8th sphere, that starts getting into, makes me start thinking of octaves, even stuff with sound with 8. So I could see how, like, even thinking that, going by thinking that Thoth at the 8th sphere might have something to do with even sound with the 8 along with octaves. It's just, it makes sense for that to carry up now what you're saying, frequencies, the keys. It just all makes sense if that was somehow just a higher arc of the same thing.
Yeah. And you're saying all these things, arc, he's god of arcs, arches. You put 8 on the side, it's the affinity symbol. He is affinity. He's also known as chaos. And it's like, how is a guy got so many names? And that's what puzzles me. I'm like you guys. No way is he this. No way he's that. He can't be this and he can't be that. And it's like, well, these 600-year-old books say he is. So am I supposed to ignore this information just because people might not like it? I just show what I find. I'm like we were saying about New York. New York is the 11th state. His number. That's why a lot of stuff goes down in New York. Morgan Freeman had New York on the 11th state. The pillars were behind him. All represents, and people going about Yakim and Boaz. It's representing 11. It's a doorway. And that's what it represents, a doorway. That's why you see a lot of 11s happening in things, like 6 and 5s and things like this. They hide it in the media. All these things happen in the media. Do you know what I mean? And we'll get into it, but it excites me because I get excited because I'm passionate about this topic, because why is people not looking into it? It's like when you do your things, it's like, God, there's not many in here today. Why not? Because look what I'm showing. For instance, you're talking about occultism and people talk about Manly P. Hall a lot. Mm. And I say, okay, you're talking about Manly P. Hall, right. What does Manly P. Hall call the pineal gland? What's its occult name? Manly P. Hall states in his book it's Janus. So the pineal gland is Janus, according to Manly P. Hall. Are we supposed to ignore that? So people like to use, for instance, Manly P. Hall for this, Manly P. Hall. Okay, he says Janus is the occult name for the pineal gland. Oh, he must have been wrong that time. It's like, well, you can't pick and choose. You can't use his information for your purpose. And then when I show you the information he's also done, discard it.
Well, you know what's really interesting with that? I've even thought, I could see that. I've been saying that the letter J, something to do with the letter J, is a very powerful occult symbol, I think, if it's the first letter of a word. And if you were to pay attention, in my opinion, in politics and true crime, I've noticed a lot of people with J's as well, Joe Biden. But just there's certain things, in my opinion, if you watch the letter J, it does seem to, I think, go along with certain occult aspects of Janus.
Well, he brought the letter J in. It was in his. People talk about the reset. I'm sure
even staffs, I think, could be showing that.
Yeah, reset. Oh, this is the biggest reset. No. This is the biggest reset. Well, for me, it's what is known as the Great Vowel Shift. The vowels. But if you split it down, it's vow to L. Straight away, vowel to L. They're changing their vowels to another L, to another god. And in this period is when they changed the English language. So this was straight after the Black Death. So you murder a lot of people, get them out of the way. Isn't it easier to control the world then when you've got a little bit less population? So what do? You change the language. You bring the letter J in. The guy who brought the letter J in, his name is a derivative of Janus, and he was also a Jesuit. Now the Jesuits have a seal with Janus's head on it. Are we supposed to ignore that as well? Janus was the first pope. Are we supposed to ignore that too?
What?
So all these things.
Yeah, that's crazy though. Sorry to interrupt you. A friend of mine, Laura, who, and why you know her, Laura, she had a dream about the Black Death and around that time, and she saw the year of the plague in her dream, and that humanity was altered in that year. Something to do with that. So maybe it has something to do with what you're saying. That's wild.
Well, the Black Death, according to whoever you can go to a lot of people.
She has a lot of weird dreams. I'm just saying.
That, what's it called now? The actual first use of a biological weapon was throwing bodies with the plague over a wall. the guy's name doing that, guess what his name was?
Janus.
Yeah. Right. And the bodies then, they want to escape because basically in how I got into Janus is through Genoa. Genoa is supposedly a little town in Italy on the coast.
Makes
it's named after
salami.
Janus.
Love that stuff.
You know what I mean? So they had colonies from Genoa through the Urals, up Ukraine, all the way to Russia way. And they brought the Black Death back on their ship to Genoa. And Genoa is known as the gateway to Europe. So that's where it spread basically from there. So that is how, well, that's not the first time I heard it, but that is like more coincident what you're saying about Janus. And this was brought in the Great Vowel 12 shift period from 11th, 12th century to the 19th century. Everything changed, all sciences, what realm we live in, the shape, the English language, because there is a little passage in Gnosticism that says, if you know every word in this realm and every spell and every sigil, you can pass through the Archon's gate. There is Archons basically guarding every door. So if you know their name or every word in this realm, you can get through. So what do you think an evil villain would do? Say what? We'll change all the language. Then they won't know every word then. So then all this stuff becomes occultism because it's a secret and we're not supposed to know it. So, and they reckon that this is why reincarnation is, because if you don't know every word, you get reincarnated back to this realm. That's just one theory. It's not my own, but that makes sense in the sense of they want our body, our energy. You know, we've always talked about our bodies being batteries to this matrix type of thing. So if you can keep coming back on a cycle, that would make sense. Anyway, so they say if you know every word, so they change the language, they change the shape of this realm from whatever people believe in. They changed it in that period, all done by these guys who the Cabal, and it's just breathtaking when you see it with the different eyes to look at something completely different. But getting to your question, because I know you originally wanted to know how did I get into Janus in the first place. I was intrigued in a topic called Tartaria. I don't know if you've heard of it. You probably have.
Yes.
One of my biggest videos is about Tartaria being not what people believe. I called it the remnants of Janus.
Yeah, I think that one I saw too, actually.
If you broke down Tartaria, basically Liguria is where Genoa is. And if you break that down, it spells Liguria, Tartaria, it spells Liguria in Latin. And I'm thinking, why are they saying Liguria? And that's what I thought, I'm going to have a look at Genoa now. So then when I go and look at Genoa, I notice two-headed gods on the street signs and things like this. And then it says, go into the cathedral. So you go into the cathedral and it starts talking about Janus, first king of Italy, progeny of giants. I'm like, huh. So think about it this way, guys. If anyone's not heard my videos, but if you've not, right. So giants, G-A-I-N-T or G-I, I'm dyslexic, so get me, spell giants. G-A-I-N-T, giants. A derivative of Janus is Gian, G-I-N. Now, when you want to go in English language, so you use something past tense, you put a T on it. So put a T on the end of Gian, you get giant. Huh. And it states in the cathedral is a progeny of giants. So that's what intrigued me. I thought, wow, I've heard of Janus in regard to like New Year's Day, like everyone. You saw it every year, don't you? Every time near Christmas, you guys are worshipping Janus, New Year's resolution and all that stuff. And that's what you see year in, year out.
You know what's interesting, real quick, I want to add, when I was talking about like Janus, I thought like was in that brain that I was looking at. I'll be getting into it when I do cover the brain. I already did the eyes series. The brain's next. The part where I do see Janus, in my opinion, if you're looking, depending on how you're looking at the brain, though, it almost looks like two mushrooms, which is the two halves of your brain, side by side, but one is a little bit longer than the other one with this certain part in your brain. So one looks like a taller mushroom than the other one. So I can see, like I've even said myself, I wonder if, like, I've joked Mario and Luigi. One's taller than the other one, and they both got mushroom hats on. So I could see how like maybe one's a giant compared to the other one. So that's really interesting to me because I can see two distinct height, I guess.
And that's what a lot of people say. Everything is in the body. You know, they're leaving all these clues to in the body. You know what I mean? It's like, it's when I did that video in regards to Janus, it's like your collarbone. It's basically in Latin, it's known as the key. It's the first thing that's grown is the key. So, you know, if we're in a realm of frequency and vibration, surely it's the first thing that's born in the womb, it's grown in the womb, is the collarbone because it's the key. And on average, it grows between 6 to 5 weeks. They say it's between 5 and 6 weeks. That's the number 11. So they're even showing you that this doorway starts to grow in the womb at 5 to 6 weeks, the 11. So this is what is key to a lot of things, the collarbone. You know what I mean? So that everything is in the body, like you've said. So it just blows you away that how did you see these ancient pictures of anatomy and things like this? It's like because they knew. You know what I mean?
Very weird. Maybe your crystals come into play with that. You know, because how did they see? In my opinion, I think we can go back thousands of years and they're showing you art of what inside an eyeball is. Yeah. How did they know then? They had to have used glass or crystal to be able to look at stuff like that. Or they had advanced technology, you know?
Yeah. There's no other way of saying about all these things. I mean, you can put up with it for a minute. Oh, yeah, it's just a coincidence and it doesn't mean that. And it's metaphorically and these guys were high and they got it lucky once. You know what I mean? You can say this, but you can't say it 99. You know, you can't say it always for things. There's people, for instance, what you guys do, what we do, what people in the chat do. There's people been like us since the day began, the dot. So there's always been people theorizing, thinking, and taking leaps.
Yeah.
You know, so nothing ever's changed.
Or they didn't necessarily know for certain, but like the way that the universe is designed, everything is reflective of each other. So, I mean, they could have known, it's possible, or they didn't, and just God is so interesting that that's how he designed it. I don't know.
Just look at the faith known as, if anyone's watching is a Christian, right? Break that word down. Janus's other derivative is Ian. Christ Ian, Christ Janus. Straight away, it's in your face. And I keep people, Christ Christian, Christ Ian. Ian is the derivative of Janus, so is John. Do you know what I mean? And it all goes back. Do you reckon the earliest, what I've been able to find, name for Janus, because that is just like the janitor, he has all the keys, is IA. If you reverse that, it's AI.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And people then link it to Enki. Why has he got a key in the name? You know what I mean? So these are the things that intrigues me because we have to look at it.
I'm using keys right now to stream out.
Yeah. It's weird though, isn't it? And like you're using like an algorithm. Algorithm is a ones and zeros and ones, zeros and ones, and the 11th is there again. And big topics that you guys might have talked about, what I mean? Because I've not saw all your videos, but if you think about it, people talk about, obviously, the pineal gland a lot. That's called Janus. People talk about CERN a lot. Another name for Janus is Cernunnos. Huh. So you're talking about two big topics straight away that is named after him. And they're opening portals and doorways. That's what people say. Who's the god of that? You know what I mean?
He's got the keys to do it.
That is these things that I just like to ask and say to people, have a look for it. You don't have to. There's one guy I can see in the chat. He's saying he went to debunk me at the beginning and ended up seeing what I see. Because if you see what I see, you can't go back to normality because you saw it. You know what I mean? I won't say the words because I know it gets it taken down. But the biggest thing that's happened to us in the last 3-4 years is the pandemic, which is a ritual to him. I've showed it in the videos. What did he want you to put on your face? Face mask. To make you two-faced. The original name was Roman crown disease. He invented crowns. He is Roman. He's the first king of Italy. So these things are there. And all these in gematria, when people do gematria, near enough all these different variants add to 11. I've showed it in videos, and it's like the biggest thing to happen is, real. And the first thing in this country, the first town to go back into lockdown, re-lockdown was Leicester. They only have the only remaining temple to Janus in the country. It's funny that, isn't it? So you can see all these connections all the time to a guy that if you type into Google, I won't mention the name, but there's a YouTuber with huge, 3-figure subs, right? People ask him, why didn't you have me on or research Janus? He said, no, he's insignificant. I'm not wasting my time there. And these are supposed to be enlightened people.
Well, for me, if the way I saw it, I was like, when I started realizing how I think often that he's depicted, I think it's a very much deeply occulted idea and archetype. If you understand the situation with Janus, or you understand like maybe what it's representing with like your own alchemy within yourself, I think it's actually, like, my opinion would be, it's a way of humanizing or showing art of a deeply occulted secret of what magic is. I really do think that if you understand what Janus really is, it's like them telling you the secrets of magic, or what an experience of knowing magic is.
And I'll show this to everyone. They've seen it, but we was talking about that briefly because we're not allowed to mention it because we know you get taken out. But that period when they had the pandemic, they were basically testing people, weren't they? Sticking the things down there. And have a look at the name of the machine that was testing it for it.
Wow.
So I made that up, really.
Janus G3.
Do you know what I mean?
Hilarious.
I made these up. How much do you have to show people before they take it? You either see it or you don't. And this is what really inspired me to Digger. Why is people in the community attacking me? Honestly, you've never seen anyone attack me as much. And I'm like, why? Because this topic is like the key to unlocking a lot of other mysteries. Honestly, if you guys look into a certain topic, I can see you would find a trace back to this guy because he is number one. They changed him from the 11th month to the first month. He's in charge. People are into astrology. He's in charge of the zodiac.
I think.
Well, why didn't no one say that?
I think when it comes to like movies or music, like I wouldn't say like long depicted art, put it that way, visually. I think if you're going to show magic at all, you can not skip over the Janus situation, in my opinion, because that is when the magic happens. So I think he is, whenever they show magic, in some way, there is going to be a reference towards something that associates with Janus.
And it blows me away. I mean, I'll not read it out, but you can just see that it's on the screen, and I've put it on my Twitter. It says the Kronos and Saturn, who may have been the original indigenous version. So telling you there, Janus is the original version of them. So do I ignore that information, or do I tell people, hey, what, guys, here's some information stating that Janus is the original version of them? Or do you? I mean, you wouldn't be a whatever you call yourself, because I don't like using truth, but you wouldn't be who you are, a researcher, or be honest to yourself. You ignored information because you knew people won't like it. That's not what I am. I'm not here to make anyone angry or anything, but if you get angry, that means you're getting triggered. There's something in place that's making you get triggered, and it's programming. They don't want you to know about this God for a specific reason. Why?
Well, I would say he's just as probably confused amongst people as the Scarlet Whore idea probably is. And I think those two ideas right there, being hugely corrupted and hidden, is what hides the idea of what magic really is.
Yeah. And they don't want you to, even people in the community don't want you to looking at certain things all the time. And that's how I became, originally I was a black sheep researcher, because I've always been like this. And when I was in certain communities, I was pushing the boundaries. I was saying, well, if you say this, guys, could it be possible if you do this or you do this? And I got called the devil incarnate. I got told I was the black sheep. So I thought, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm going to make my own channel up and call myself the Black Sheep Researcher. Because why are people in the community who are supposed to be ostracized from the normal reality, normal people, ostracizing me? I don't get it. So that's why I created the Black Sheep Researcher before it got taken down by PooTube. And that's how I became what I'm doing today, out of stubbornness, because people were calling me this and calling me that because they didn't like what I was saying. And to me, I treat everything as information. And if you get triggered, it means there's a spell being put in place to make you triggered at a certain word. You can call it mind programming, like monarch and things like that. But when you say a specific word and someone gets hate and anger, like, you wouldn't believe, why are you getting like this over this?
I think we had a lot of that a few years ago, and I don't think people realize, like, that's all mind control and magic. I mean, you had people spazzing out over the smallest things.
Yeah.
I think that was all magic to an extent. I was going to say something about Janus, and now I forgot, but I guess continue where you were going.
I have a question, actually, if I can interrupt a little bit.
No,
okay, so, Paul, are you saying that Janus is the god of everything, like, ultimately?
I say, and I always back it up, because people always go, what's your opinion? I say, let the information speak for itself. So I share and show that Janus, according to them, is the god.
According to them.
According to them, god of gods.
Got you. That makes sense to me.
That's why he is so hidden, but not hidden. He goes by many names. When you had children, you had to conceive them, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
His name is Concevious. So he's there at the point of creation. And his old images look like a man's penis, 2 heads. He's there at creation. Also, he's there in the Bible. Not like my words, but their words.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It just, a few things like jump out at me, though, because if he's like the progeny of giants, like the God of the Bible wiped the giants out. So the God of the Bible is against giants, against Janus. So maybe
it's against giants or Janus.
To me, it seems that Janus is like a counterfeit of the Almighty.
That's what a lot have said.
Yeah, because like, who else would give themselves all these names and make themselves God of all this and God of all that? Who else? The most narcissistic person or entity in the universe, which we know is the adversary.
Yeah, adversary just means multiple names.
Sure, of course, you can give it multiple names. But to me, it just seems like you said, the ultimate God to them doesn't mean that is necessarily actually the ultimate God.
And that's how you think about it. Many names, many faces. Like your personality. I'm not saying you, Pacific, but
I get that for sure.
You're like, oh, he's attacking her already. No, it's like
I'm not. I'm not attacking you whatsoever. I'm just raising the question.
No, I'm just saying that is what persona means. Mask. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it all leads back to what you're saying, like how you said Janus is related to Saturn. Obviously, we can see that there is like a clear division. Yeah. There's a Saturn worship, and there's an antithesis to that. Yeah. And in some institutions, it's very blurred, such as like the Vatican. It's a place where both coexist, and there's clearly like a battle happening. There's a war there.
That's what you'll say.
It's not all cut and dry, like some people might like to think that it is.
No, I get it, because if you research Janus now, you'll see, he and Jupiter and Saturn, and he gave Janus his powers to look. So that's what you see if you generically type it. Mm-hmm. And then you look deeper and you'll see other things. It's like, people have been doing this forever and theorizing forever. So that's why we're seeing all this information. How do we know which information is correct? We don't. It's your faith or intuition which picks which one. You know what I mean? And absolutely. Your intuition would be different to mine, and you'll say, well, this looks a bit dodgy. I'm believing this. And that's cool, because that is why we're unique in the sense of we see this realm differently. You know what I mean? So I don't go, Janus, and he's this and this and this. I just show what I find, and people can't get their head around that. I mean, he goes by another name. Ianos Pater means Janus father, Pater, Pater, Peter. Who's the first pope, according to them? Peter.
Yeah, but it's just like a common name. Like even the Ian thing, the IAN, like I'm a Torontonian because I'm from Toronto.
I get people all the time. Oh, my name's Ian, or my name's John. I'm Janus.
I can see the origin could be that, but it doesn't mean
the origin. That's what I mean when I say the derivative. That's the origin. So it stems from that name. So when you start looking in the Vatican, and Janus is the pineal gland. What's in the courtyard?
Yes, the
pine cone.
The pine cone. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Two peacocks either side representing his two heads.
Yeah, for sure.
With what I mean. So these are the things that honestly, I'm like you guys who anyone that's not researching. Oh God, this guy's making so many leaps. It's because I've been swimming in it, and I show people what I find. It's up to you if you want to believe this or not, or try and debunk it. Like I've got Troublemaker Jonah in the chat who says he went to debunk me at the beginning.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I remember that.
You know what I mean? It's like
he sent me your stuff. He sent me your stuff, and I was like, "Yo, I watched this already." I was like, "Yo, this shit is really good," and I didn't know he was sending it to me to shit on you. And then he actually looked at it and he was like, "Yo, this guy's," and he just was going off, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." I remember that.
They took it back. Like that short video I did not long ago, the doorknob murders, where everyone was getting hung on doors. That's a ritual to Janus. It's transitioning. It's they're the actor, the actor's guild. Basically, they're changing from one persona to another.
Oh, the Amish.
That's why you see it.
The Amish Inquisition was saying that Peter holds the keys to the gates of heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, his emblem is and the Vatican flag is the two keys crossed like this in an X.
The X, the cross, and people talk about the cross or the X, and if you only do that.
Well, I was going to say, in my opinion, whenever you are showing a crossing of, I guess, this reality into the abyss, if there was like a door that you opened up to do that, I would say Janus is like the hinge to it. So like anytime you're showing something that shows like this world and the heavenly world, he is the thing in between making that happen. Like in my opinion, Janus represents the change inside yourself when you're having a magical experience. Let's say the pineal gland is involved with that. I agree. He would be the energy that actually opens that up and shines the light back into your head or wherever it's going, whatever the fuck's happening. All that change even within your eyeballs that I think that happens. I think like he's the one that like switches the direction of where everything's going.
Like I said, he's not alone in his, He
turns his key
ladies.
Either way. Something's open and closed.
He likes the ladies as Janus. He has plenty of partners and friends. He's also I can't pronounce that word, androgynous. He also has an androgynous nature to him, an aspect that you can easily find in old images. And
got two heads, they, them. There you go.
You will see. And this even goes into stuff that I've said that I think you see in tarot. And again, this even falls in line with where I think, again, Thoth starts off at like the hero's journey and eventually you get to Janus. You will see, in my opinion, like different versions of the male energy. And when we covered the eyeball stuff, there was a lot of tarot I showed on there. And I do think that when you start to get the feminine imagery, I do think that is showing more of like the actual physical aspect. And Janus is the energy that's running within it. And neither it's going one way or going the other way. So I can understand why sometimes Janus will be showed, and feminine sometimes as well. There
you go. That's an image, an old picture. Some will say it's Kronos in museums. Some say it's Cernunnos. Why are they showing him with Janus's head? Because people don't understand. I always say it's like a countdown. The old images of Janus, he has 4 heads. The oldest one you can find is on the oldest bridge in Rome. It's got 4 heads. The island of the gods, I call it, in the Tiber River. You know what I mean? So he goes from 4 to 3 to 2, and I always say, are we on a countdown? Is it when it gets to 1 head? Is that when the shit really kicks in? You know what I mean? So it's just like I said, it's a topic that is always giving. You know what I mean? It's always giving, and that's why I love to research it, because I mean, words you find, like, you know, when I said to you at the beginning, Janus's oldest name's IA. Well, if you look in, there you go, you can say IA. And in Greek, that is the number 11. So this is, they're showing you all this. You just have to see it, because it is a topic that blows you away. Do you know what I mean? For instance, I did a video on hell and heaven, right? H, when you look at the etymology of the letter H, it's like a doorway, right? Mm-hmm. So if you take H off both words, you get L, heaven. Oh, another 11. Hell and heaven, hell, heaven. They're both doorways. One to the supposed, you know, paradise up top, and the other one to hell.
You know, I have said recently, and it was because I think of the eyeball series that might have happened. When I was doing that, I was like even showing how like some gods, even with gematria, match parts of the eye. I happened to misspell something and left out the H. And I don't remember exactly what I ended up hitting, but I was like, oh, wow, this is actually kind of weird. And then I was like looking into like the letter H, and like, you know, in like Hebrew, and then like even in German, and I think Italian, you know, other languages too. Sometimes it can be silent. You know, so like I wonder if taking that out, does that start to make a difference in some things?
So what you're seeing there is an old image of who the Knights Templar worshipped.
Well, looks like the poster for Nefarious, the movie with the 3 faces. The they, them.
That's who it is today because of Elias Levi. He changed it to that. You know what I mean? So when people say Baphomet, and it's not, again, it's not me, well, he's got 3 heads. I found written word for it saying Baphomet is Janus. So when people are spraying about Baphomet all the way over social media, well, it's Janus really. That is where the you know, people don't like me say, and again, I say that's just my opinion on what I see. It's, you know, if you want to call it this or you call it that, then it's up to you. I mean, you look at these images, and you're like, well, why does it get ignored?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Janus is a god from the beginning. It's old, an old adversary, you know. Interestingly, too, there's a part in the Bible where Jesus was traveling with his disciples through Caesarea Philippi, and they stop at the base of Mount Hermon, which is said to be where Pan's cave was, or Cernunnos, right? The same guy, right? And that's where Jesus gives his like speech of sorts, where he's like, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And then some people theorize that when he was crucified and went to hell for 3 days, basically, and evangelized to those that were in hell and to the fallen angels, that those were the gates of hell at the base of Mount Hermon. And that's why he said it there. So, you know, he's posing a challenge to Janus, basically.
And also, another, like I said, derivative is John. It's like, you know what I mean? So this is in the Bank of England on the floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's they're not hiding it. And when I was talking about a secret symbol, this is one of the most secret symbols to Freemasonry. I've done videos on it. It's the eye. If you turn it around, it looks like the eyelid. But they're the 2 St. Johns.
It's a 101 also.
Yeah, 101. And that's why when you say, you know, your best line knowledge is 101.
It's also the sigil of the sun.
It's the 11. And why have they got 2 St. Johns as the principal? St. John, remember, is a derivative of Janus, not my making, like language. So you've got Janus on either side of a doorway or a portal. And that's also known as a circumpunct as well. It's a symbol for gold. It's a symbol for sun, symbol for a lot of things. And it's like, why are these symbols ignored? And that's just what intrigues me to look even deeper. You know what I mean? And that's basically all I like doing is showing things that are intriguing. People show this all the time with the 47. What's 4 at 7?
11.
Why have they got the 11 everywhere? Because they like to show this doorway, this portal. Again, this is Jesuit stuff now. Notice anything?
Yeah.
Maybe Janus's archway is wide. And the gates to heaven are very narrow. It's two different things.
That's the intriguing thing, because people always want, Paul, is he evil? Is he good? And I just say, listen, if he's got multiple faces, surely he is both good and evil. But do people believe he's a demiurge? Do people believe? I say, I leave it up to you. I don't want to lead you down a rabbit hole and say, oh, well, it's my opinion. This. I just love showing the information because we see everything differently. And when you see 1 and 1, some people will see 2, some people see 11. You know what I mean? We all see things uniquely. So why should I come on the channel and say, right, guys, if you don't follow what I say, I don't want you on my channel? I don't. I encourage people to, have an honest debate and say, I don't believe this. And they never get their heads around it. I'm only showing you information that I find. If you want to take it on board, do so. If you want to discard it, do so. But don't ignore it. I mean, if I find information which one of the flockers sent me, like I was saying pre-show, was that Janus is known as Janus Noah Janus. Why would you ignore something that huge?
That is
you know what I mean? And it's significant because he's sailing an ark. He's a god of arcs and arches and so many other things. Why would you ignore it? For instance, I found ancient documents saying Janus taught humans how to build walled cities. What is that but star cities, star forts, walled cities? Right? If Janus is the first shipbuilder, that's what they say, not me. They say he's the first shipbuilder. What do they say this world is run on but maritime law? Mm-hmm. He is the first shipbuilder.
He's a Phoenician, maybe.
You know what I mean? So, well, Phoenicians worshipped him.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And well, that's where I think, right. The double-headed eagle, 2 faces, again, goes back all the way.
They didn't like that. They didn't like that when I showed you that.
No, they didn't like it. I love that shit.
Do you know that? I don't know what it was. Is it called Ishtar or them book people? The old books. It's they might be Ishtar, and they do college and university stuff, and they let you see one page unless you're a member. On there, some guy wrote an old book saying what you just said, and I used that. The double-headed eagle was first used by the Hittites, right? Double eagle for Janus. They say it in the book for Janus.
I think it even
and that symbol is used as a seal. And guess where it's found? On a doorway.
I think that symbol even goes back to the tribe of Dan in the Israelite tribes also. Canaanites, basically. It's the same thing.
Yeah. And what intrigue... Sorry. Once you start me, I can't shut up because I don't get out that much. So I'm getting the opportunity while I can.
None of us do.
You're good.
Yeah. I'm like, you have to wind me down. But when I was mentioning the Great Vowel to L shift, right, the Holy Roman Empire were in charge of basically a lot of, Europe, the world, whatever you want to call it. And they used to have the black eagle, the one-headed. And when they went into the vowel shift, they did something unusual. They made it double-headed. That period Stein's showing you, they went from the 1 to the 2. They changed the vowels. You know what I mean? They changed the vowels to a different L, a different god, divine nature. Ooh. And that is when all this shenanigans started. For instance, the shape of the realm, the science they still use today, gravity, all this was brought in this period that's known as the Great Vowel Shift period. And I was like, wow.
That is interesting in a sense.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy. So if you think about it, now, if you was an evil villain, you would like to wipe the population out as much as you can because there's too many rowdy people. We can't get our hands everywhere. So they brought the plague in. That wiped a lot of people out, leaving, right, you guys that's left, you can't speak English that way now. We're going to change the language to another language, another form of English. That's why when you look at etymology, words only start from the 12th, 13th century onwards. You'll find the odd one in the 11th, but most of the etymology, the words start from that period because that's when they changed everything. And that's the big moment when I was researching Janus, that, wow, did they switch to Janus in this period, the greatest period, so-called enlightenment that we have? Some people call it the Dark Ages, but we know it's not because we see everything. That's just a wow to me.
Yeah, no, I find that actually very interesting, to tell you the truth. Because I've actually thought that, like, your words themselves, like, I think it's very magical, especially the English language. And I would, like, consider that this possibility that we have been taught to even say sounds that are probably not in our best interests. You know, so I could see how, like, if Janus is like the thing between, you know, being here or going out to the abyss, there's going to be two sides to that. One keeping you here and one letting you go. You know, and if frequencies has anything to do with that, like I think gravity is, you know, kind of has something to do with us being stuck here, could we be kind of doing that with what comes out of our mouths?
Yeah. And just think about it. If someone comes along like I did and saying, like, this guy is the god of basically everything, it's not going to go down well. Like, you could hear a pin drop. And it's like, and I understand it because, you know, I find it hard. And it's like, that's why I always sometimes send people information saying, please read that back and tell me I'm not going stupid. Does that say what it says? You know what I mean? I mean, you might know him as another name in ancient Egypt. He's called Ptah. You know what I mean? And other forms of Ptah are spelled as Peter. You know what I mean? Father as well. So you're seeing Peter, the Ptah, the path, and then you were shoving things down your nose and your mouth, which is a ritual to Ptah. So, and he was creation also. So you're seeing him everywhere. I mean, he has partners, like I was saying, Cardia. The directions of this realm that were brought in that period, the Vowel 12 shift period. You know, the compass was brought in that period. That's why you used to have east at the top, south at the top. North is a man-made construct, according to a map maker. It was made up so we would look up to the leaders. Where do the most powerful leaders live? They live in the northern hemisphere because they want you to look up, obedient. So that was brought in that period. So Cardia is the cardinal directions. You also have cardinals in the church. And you also have, what do we have a lot in this pandemic now? Cardiac arrests. Yes, the same lady. So the show is a cardiac, it's a ritual to Cardia. So you have Cardia, you have Hecate, which is the threshold. You have Kybel. So you have all these gods and ladies are part of the door, because it's not just about the door itself, it's the threshold. For instance, knowledge, the word knowledge. You split it up, know is gnosis. You're left with ledge. If you look up ledge in the definition, as I did for my video, it says it's the top part of the door. Knowledge is the doorway. Who's the god of doorways? There you go again. So it's like, do I show this, or would people take this on board? You know, so
I like it. You know what? It's so funny. You reminded me of the dad in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where he's like, take the root of any word, and I'll tell you the root is Greek. It's like, give me anything, and I'll tell you the root is Janus, honestly.
And I'm dyslexic, so I find it hard, you know what I mean? So that's why I try and push myself to find... I have a series of videos called Spell Etymology to see if I can find anything different.
I saw that, yeah. That's cool.
You know what I mean? So, for instance, you look. Everyone says, "Oh, this is his Tory." Okay, so it's his Tor, which means door. His door. Why Janus? Because it can be spelled with a Y. Actually, the oldest rendition of his temple has the Y on it. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. It's like they only used to shut that door in times of peace. If I get it, I always get it mixed up. Sometimes, yeah, if it was peace, they shut the doors of Rome, his temple, and the day adds to 11. So why are they doing this? Is it me just making it up? Is it me just seeing things that are not there? Like, what's that word now? Pareidolia. Because sometimes we do see things that are not there because we want it to be. You know what I mean? So I always ask that question: am I seeing things, guys, or can you see this? And I leave it up to people to decide. Because, like you said, if you've not come across this information, it's like, I mean, if Janus is Noah, right, and basically people talk about, oh, as above, so below, right? He's in charge of, so think about it. As above, so it would be space or the skies, and the seas would be below, right? We could agree on that. As above, so below, could be that. Look who's in charge of both of them. Noah. Oh, but that's a coincidence. You've made that up, Paul. No, it's there. Noah's in charge of the atmospheres and the sea. You know, one of the oldest coins, the first shipbuilder. There's his heads. There's the ship. It's this information has never been hidden. You know what I mean? It's there. An old painting of Janus Noah, just with one head, found in Italy, Viterbo. You know what I mean? So it's always been there, and I just get excited, and I say to people, I do get easily excitable, guys. You know what I mean? And please see. Can you see what I see? And look at gematria and different things. And you know, I do gematria wrong according to people, but I just like to use whatever tool I can available to fit. You talked about Lucifer. I've talked about it as being your eyes. But that's in gematria, it's 11. Janus is 65. 11.
Damn.
So we can find all these things.
That's basically what I was getting at with it. Well, to an extent, with the eyeball series, I think the light.
You know, you guys have done more stuff on this, I know, but one of the big go-to guys, you know, the poster child things for the cabal is called Bill Gates. We can all agree. Why is he called Gates? Because in Latin that means Janus.
And he made windows.
Yeah.
Portals.
Oh. You know what I mean? And do you remember when he tried to compete with Apple? Even though do people actually know he helped Apple out? He gave them a loan.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Anyway, you know, remember Zune? That was going to be his big ticket, like Apple. Zune.
Oh, yeah. Music. Yeah.
That had software called Janus software. And all Windows would have been called Windows Janus. And if you reverse Zune, you get Janus. So you get all these things, and Bill Gates adds to 11 as well. You know what I mean? And he got married on the 1st of January.
That's bugged out. I love this stuff.
So that's what the stuff that blows me away is when you find this. Do you actually, for instance, sigils, logos, and one of the biggest famous arches in the world are the Golden Arches. McDonald's. They had a university called Hamburger University where they were going to, you know, I don't know if it's still going today. But out of everyone, they picked a supplier for the screens that they were going to work on the computers. Guess what it was called? Janus. So is that just a coincidence that Janus was, you know, the Golden Arches? I think not. You know what I mean? So you have to report these things, and that's what I do. I get really excited.
Yo, for real. No, well, we mentioned it earlier, like the binary code, two-faced. It's bi, you know, 1011. Old computers are based off of that, and everything with AI can reference back to daemons and how it runs, and it's all very interesting. Even when you were saying about the ledge, the translation of the word knowledge, right? Like, what was it? Like standing on the ledge, you said?
The ledge of the door is on top of the door, like. Yeah,
well, in my mind, where it went first was like almost like peering over an edge. Yeah. And we were told, like, you know, not to eat from the tree of knowledge. right? We were told not that one, not the good and evil one, the knowledge one, because maybe
So you have
sometimes
two-
looking
you have
into the
two
abyss,
trees.
it's too much for us. You know, we're not supposed to do that.
Tree of knowledge. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. There's two trees, isn't it? If I remember.
There are two trees. Yes.
That's your doorway. What is that book called again?
Bible.
Bible. What does "by" mean?
Two.
Yeah. And what is the first thing in the Bible, isn't it? It's Genesis. That's actually named after Janus. Like Genoa. Gen is Janus.
Something in that salami, man.
You know what I mean?
That's so good.
You really? That's what gets me.
Does Deluso go back to Janus?
Is what?
Deluso. That's a type of Genoa salami.
You know what? I bet there's some guy. There was that image that I wanted to show you that we was talking about before.
Oh, yeah.
Why would he hold that letter Pacific?
That's interesting because like that makes me almost think of like the Yod and then like that guy holding his staff, very hermit card kind of looking.
Yeah, like the Pope.
The Y
of an
has
ogre.
two prongs coming off
Yep.
of it, right? So it's like, you know, two-faced, has the connecting piece and then the two pieces off of it, right?
That's another video I did. I forgot again.
Salamis.
Well,
Yeah,
you're saying Bible by bell. Bell resonates, it vibrates, so two vibrations.
Bel is also known as Baal, which is another name of.
The same
Again,
dude.
not mine, guys. If anyone's watching, who's ever watched me, I'm not making it up. People have said it in books. But cymatics is known as the key. And when I did that video, I looked at the cymatics of CY, and it came back as IA. What was Janus's oldest name?
Yeah.
So why? So that is saying you basically that cymatics is frequency, and it comes from IA. Janus's oldest name is IA. So these things I just find don't mean it's true. It just means I found it, and I have to show people what it is because the topic blows my mind. You know, and if it blows my mind, hopefully, you know what I mean. You can talk about it. I mean, look, you're only saying these things. That is that one. So take your pick. Do I make these things up, or are they there
That's crazy.
to test
Because
us?
they all do add up to 11, putting it together like that.
So do you ignore? And that's the letter H. You know what I mean? So that's the letter H. How it basically it's a door or a window. You know what I mean? So do you not show these for people, or do people get triggered? You know what I mean? So
I
just
do
show them.
believe adding those numbers together like that on the bottom. I do believe that is done on purpose a lot. I know a lot of people don't follow it because it doesn't go with like the gematria calculator, but I do think they do that on purpose.
Yeah, that's what I was getting told. I'm doing it all wrong because that's not how you do it. And I said, well, if they're hiding things in words and spells, and they're hiding things in numbers, what gematria is, why should I not show it as that? You know what I mean? It's it's crazy. You know what I mean? So I have to show these things because people won't, believe me. Operating systems, Windows, code name,
Janus.
and he follows. I actually found it and I put in the video that Bill Gates follows a clothing company on LinkedIn. Have a guess what it's called.
Oh, Janus. I think I saw that on your show. Yeah.
So
That was weird.
We're
Yes.
showing you all this.
That was weird.
What the heck?
Yes.
And
Wow.
I'm just like, it intrigues you, and that's what.
You know what somebody said in chat, and I think this is funny, and this even ties in with some things that I've said. We'll let
There
you
you
show
go.
that first.
First name IA, and look at the names IA stands for, and this is what causes people Yah, Aya, Yahweh, Yoveh, Jehovah, Allah, Janos, Ionos, Uranus, Uranus, Oans. They're all names from Janus.
what's that thing? The two snake symbol, the
Ouroboros.
Rubus.
Like,
I can't say it myself, so.
well, it looks like the infinity symbol or an 8.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying in chat, today is it's Tuesday, the 22nd, on the 8th month in the Gregorian calendar. I guess it is kind of funny how, like, 22, it's Janus. The thing that I found interesting, though, is, again, going back to saying that I think Thoth path is 864 and then, like, 2. Today's date, the 22nd, you get the 2s, you get the 4. This month, you get the 8 in there. So I can see his path is in there, actually, somehow, to get to Janus at Sphere 2.
And I don't know if you guys have saw it, but one of the biggest occult films for hidden meanings is Eyes Wide Shut, right? Face masks. I'm not saying anything, but I'll just release this. And these guys are trying to get the film re-released. I'll leave it up to you now. I want to show you. Tell me who they are.
Stop.
Janus Films.
What the heck? Come on.
So, tell me. I made this shit up and that's happening. Why is this
Yo,
happening?
you're definitely onto something. And I have my Game of Thrones mug today. Makes me think of the many-faced god and the faceless men.
And that's what I've named one of the old videos, the many-faced god, because they try and get it in.
Mm-hmm.
He's got it in everywhere, that guy, Janus.
Yeah. So when you're talking about how it's made up, and I'm talking about the gates and reckon to Janus. So these gates were only shut once or twice in existence, right? Now, the first time it was shut, January the 29th. What's 9 at 2?
11.
So they shut it in January, his month, on a number that adds to 11.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a coincidence? And I always say, people always say, there's no such thing as coincidence, Paul. But, I have to say it. So, you know what I mean? These are the things that's there to test us. Are we seeing what we're seeing? And this is a topic that's intriguing. Why is this God all of a sudden? Because I was telling you guys before I came on, I originally did Janus 101. I think that was one of my first ones. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard, this researching game. I can't find hardly anything on it. I released that. And then bong, it's like it opened the floodgates. It's even in our wording. It's like
I saw what you did there. That was good.
Yeah, and it's I'm really really honest. If they like to talk about science a lot and use science. These numbers keep matching.
That matched something from
Harry
before,
Potter.
too.
Harry Potter, the character, the first video is it Professor Quirrell?
Quirrell.
Quirrell. He has Voldemort on his back.
Yeah,
They
two
actually
faces.
say it's Janus. That's where Quirrellness means. Quirrell means Janus.
Stop.
And I'll see if I can find that quick while we're still talking. And people are like, wow, so you're into Harry Potter and all the 11s in there. You got Hagrid, Keeper of Keys. You know what I mean? So, Professor...
Yeah, I don't know much about that show.
I just watched it again for the first time yesterday with my kids, legit.
So I've got it now. I'll just save it because then it can come up to my phone. But yeah, these things. If I wouldn't be who I would if I didn't show people this. Behind the name Quirinus Quirrell, what do you notice?
Ooh.
There you go, Janus Quirinus.
What the fuck?
It's got something to do with Q.
Whoa! Uh-oh, there we go. Well, Q goes back to, the order of Quetzalcoatl, which is the double-headed.
And in Q, I don't really look into it, but the etymology of the letter Q is actually a monkey. So the first Q is a monkey, and the Q is the tail of the monkey. So it's actually a monkey, the letter Q, originally.
And interesting enough that Quetzalcoatl is an inner order of the Shriners. And they do tend to use monkeys sometimes as their symbol.
12 Monkeys. What's that movie about?
Oh, yeah, true, right?
So it is a topic, and I know we all researching, all the people find lots of stuff I don't find. You know what I mean? We're here there to find all this stuff. You know what I mean? And these are not my stuff, so you can see it. So he's all these things. And I always show to people, Janus is just the janitor. That's why they named the janitor after it. So he's walking around with all these keys, with all these gods and frequencies on it. You know what I mean? And that's why they love to show you, hide this stuff in plain sight, especially with the number 11. Since I started making that video, The Realm of 11, people are just like, whoa, what? You know, you're talking about how we see. And if you saw my Lucifer video, that's the field of view. All adds up to 11.
Well, if he's two-faced, 11, L, even, to make both sides balanced and even.
See, you don't even look at it, you've got it already. I'll hire you.
Yeah, and EL is a name for God. ALs can be used for name for God, too.
Yeah, God himself, whichever.
So this is what we have to look into. I mean, look at this, for instance. I put that in the last video. So the eye looks in wavelengths, right? Mm-hmm. Look at the wavelengths from 380 to 740. 388 is? 74 is?
11, 11.
You're seeing with your 11s, 2 eyes, everything is 11.
Wow.
Again, I have to scratch myself on that.
That's wild.
I mean, if you're thinking about the new thing, it does blow you away. And I do, honestly, people who watch me in the chat will say, I question myself all the time because I'm not anything special. And people are talking about the code, you know, the code of humans. And you might have saw that being around, plastered around lately. It's a cross, but it's also how humans are glued together. And it's 11. There's 11 of them. Why is this 11 everywhere?
That's weird.
You mean, I was putting that in my video. So your eye occupies this much space. 6.5. So are you saying 11 adds, basically, so you can't say every number adds to 11 because it doesn't. It's like they need to do a ritual to show you. Do you know what I mean? There's a specific reason they have to show you because they have to like worship this god. So that's what I do
think magical numerology does start to match stuff in the eyes too. So I think you're on point with that for sure.
And that's what blew me away when I did that eye video because
I've even thought like I don't know your idea and that'll your listeners or my listeners I couldn't tell you the truth, but if you don't believe that space is real, if you like kind of listen though and look into what the science is about these planets, I think if you take numbers that they like throwing at you and put that into like occultism kind of, you'll start to see they're actually maybe telling you the truth, but covered up in fantasy. Like I do think stuff, even with the planets, goes back to numerology and maybe even shit attached to your own body.
And another thing that I've noticed a lot of channels. So we talk about if you believe in aliens, right? Now, aliens, if you break it down, you got AL, which can be interchangeable with EL. So you got something godly straight away with the first 2 letters. And you're left with the IEN. Right? There's IEN, right? I'll just unzoom it. Come on, Paul. It's not plate lies. And it comes from Janus. You can see it quite there.
Yeah. French
now
too.
French. For
Alien
sure.
God Janus. Now, I don't know if you guys, because I'm not sorry, do you believe there's more land over the ice wall?
I think it could be possible for sure.
Right.
Possible, yes.
What if, and I've showed it in videos, how would you get to this land? Would you talk about a doorway, a portal of some kind?
Passageway through the ice.
What if I told you there's 2 islands, one in Antarctica, one in Greenland, called, have a guess? Janus. God of doorways and portals. Why is they named 2 islands, opposite sides?
Maybe one goes to in the earth and one goes out.
You know what I mean? So this is why I
feel like the torrid field, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you research it? Because look at this. You're into that topic. I've showed you there's 2 islands. There's the images on Google Maps. I've not made it up. And you're talking about toroidal field, torus field. What's the first 3 letters? Tor is a door. So you can see why I get excited, and I do apologize for anyone.
No, it's
No,
awesome.
no, I love this stuff. I love this stuff. That's why I had you on.
We are just as excited about it, honestly.
This is, and I can show you now, because people don't read about the solstice. Solstice is for Janus. They say it. You know what I mean? And here's a picture of an old image of winter and things like this, and in regard to seasons. What do you notice?
Crown.
No, two
And under
faces.
the crown,
Is that a nose at the back?
that's
Looks like
two-faced.
Yeah, one's sticking its tongue out.
Ooh.
Looks like.
So these all images, it doesn't mean that's proof, by all means, but these people are drawing it. You know what I mean? And they are doing it for a reason. And that's what I just like to share with people. You know what I mean? It's like people talk about the Serifot and Kabbalism and things like this, and how important the Serifot is, the tree of life. Well, the tree of life has, when you look at it, you'll just see 10. You know, you can go deeper and you'll find more. But if you just type in Serifot now, you'll get the 10 trees, you know, where it Kabbalah, and it goes like this, and it's a tree of life. I'll show you on the screen now. But if you look deeper, it actually has 11. And where they all join, it's Da'at. That's the 11th. That's his number. And Dilet actually talks about how, you know, basically connecting you to the divine. You know God personally, basically. And that's the number 11. So why didn't they do it 12 or 13? Because that's, you know, numbers. They chose 11 for a reason, because it's a doorway.
L even.
And do you remember that meme? You must have saw that. Yeah, you get me. See, I'm trying to think, and then I get excited when you say something. But when you see that meme, do you remember that meme? And I'll show it on screen. That moment you realise you were just pieces of data carrying information across the circuit board. We've all saw it.
All just writable crystals.
Yeah. You anagram Da'at. Da'at means data. D-A-A-T is dat, Da'at. So anagram of Da'at is data. So it's telling you we are all Da'at data on a circuit board. What number is it again?
11.
So
Motherboard, the Matrix.
yeah,
Oh God.
you can see why I get excited like a kid, and I really do.
If you think about it, the circuit board is like basically sucking the electricity out of the wall and making it do what it wants it to do at that point.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Definitely. I mean, look at this one. This with BlackRock. Look who the vice president of BlackRock is.
Come on. Come on. Shut the front door on purpose. I used.
So, do you know what I mean? These things, do I ignore that? And it's
Now I'm going to start seeing it everywhere. Like, I was aware of Janus before, but now it's going to be like
Oh, yeah.
non-stop.
the, what's the word now? The,
God.
like the etymology of Patar is for stuff like music and pi and Pythagoras and things like this. I mean, when you look, you see pi and music, they're both the same, but they're also a door.
Looks like Jay's going the other way.
Yeah. So you're seeing it. They're showing you right there. It's key.
Oh,
So-
and music is in keys. Oh my God.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And then you have octaves. Again, I say to Tohudia Toth with an 8.
Yeah.
It's just very weird. Very weird.
Well, and also like Lucifer is supposed to be the
Yeah.
angel in charge of music, and it said that like his whole body was like music and sound as he walked through.
Do you remember that famous quote, all the world is a stage?
Mm-hmm.
Anagram of stage. Gates. So they're telling you right there, all the world is gates, doors, portals. Do you ignore this again? And that's what I always say to people. Do you ignore it or do I show it?
That's why I thought like your series was like, to me it was really good, because like from my experiences with magic, again, I'm not trying to like force it down heaven and hell. Again, you get 11. not to keep forcing the idea, but I do think like Janus, and this is why I do think it can also be seen in so many different places. I've said over and over again, I think when people have magical experiences, there is a way to communicate that throughout art. People will see something and be like, oh, you know what, even though that's not the way I would draw it, I understand what they're saying because I've had an experience that has made me think of the same idea. So I think you will see it throughout so many different cultures, and I think the Janus experience is what I was saying before. It's literally like somebody having the control of like an electric circuit. Either it's going to go one way or it's going to go the other way. And when it switches, that's Janus who's doing it.
Have you saw my old video where I showed the etymology of electric? And I broke it down, and it says electric, jurisdiction of L. Now, if I'm making shit, how can you come up with these words hidden? Because really, spells are spells, grammar, grimoire, it's all there. And if I always think, do I making this up? I'm really, like I've said, and I have a friend who's an archaeologist in Mexico, and she was sending me pictures. Look at this, what I found. And she's bringing up statues with double heads and 3 heads. And she's like, Paul, look what that is. And I said, I know, it's all over the world. It transcends. And there's 2 places on this earth known as the Eternal City. So one of them is the Vatican, right? Shaped like a key, right? And the other place is Kyoto in Japan. And what they're famous for are tombs in the shape of keyholes. So you're telling me there's 2 places on earth called Eternal City that have a key and a door and a keyhole? What are the odds of that? And this is what I'm saying when I show videos of like, am I seeing this shit? Is it real? And I just don't get why people don't see it as like me, because it's like a ritual. You know, they try to get, remember Islam and Christianity, put out. I mean, you can see it. So when they do these rituals and it's in the press, they have to get the 11 in, and people will say it. Now, when I was talking to you about crystals and the body's made up of crystals, look at the percentage. So it's telling you that you're made up of 65% crystal, which is 65 is 11. And again, this is found all over the body. Do you ignore it or do you show people? And sometimes I don't show things because I'm like, because people think I talk about this all the time, and you can go on my videos, there's loads of other things, but it's everywhere and you just have to hide it. I mean, you'll see him in films like, what's it called now? And he only did 1 series, and one of them was a demon. He had powers. Anyway, in the background, you can see there's Janus on the stairs. They walk past it. You know what I mean? So it's everywhere in TVs and series that you don't even know, and you just have to spot it. Now, you talked about Urubus before. I've asked the question. Ionos is Janus, his Latin name. So do you ignore it, or am I making things up? And so, I always ask that question because, you never know. It's like, people talk about how we are salt. We are salt of the earth is a saying. Mm-hmm. 2 and 9 is 11. Right? And then if you look at what is the number for salt in the periodic table.
Oh, come on.
And you know what? It's very, like, even when it comes to electricity, salt, like, would be very, like, kind of, would start creating connections and grounding in a sense, I think. I do question, like, with salt, as, part of what's keeping our souls stuck here.
Yeah. And one of the rituals that they did when we was in lockdown was they were all kneeling about, weren't they? All the world leaders were kneeling. Right?
Yo,
this is Genoa. The city's current name derives from the Latin word meaning knee, Genua, plural, derived from Janus because Genoa, like the god, Janus has 2 faces. So they named Genoa after Janus, and the word knee. So when they're kneeling down, doing all this stuff, it was a ritual to show their unity for Janus.
You know what I thought was really weird about that? And I did a post about it when I saw it that long ago. If you looked at them like from the side and looked at the way that they were sitting, like all you saw was that frequency. It was like a frequency, that cube frequency.
Yeah.
I forgot what you call it, and I was like, yo, I guarantee you that even had something to do with it. They're representing a specific frequency that they're pushing on people.
Do you remember the one of his biggest ritual was Kobe Bryant's death?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kobe in Japanese means door.
Stop.
And his daughter's name was, is it Gianna?
Gianna. Yeah, Gianna.
Janus.
And he was obsessed with Italian stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see why it's intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
well,
And
even
it's
the word genu that you brought up, like in Catholic Mass, when you go to like kneel before the Eucharist, they call it
I'm not putting 11 on it, but you can see adds to 11. So it's not, you know, you know what I mean? And we've talked, you know, we've mentioned, because obviously I talk about Janus and how it's the realm of 11, which you notice one of the big symbols is the Knights Templar's cross and the London cross. You know, London, England, the flag, it's white with red, and we all know it. Well, if you don't watch my videos, Genoa, that's their flag. England had to give Genoa money to actually use that flag. You know what I mean? So, and with, you know, you can type most things in.
They had to buy the rights.
You know what I mean? They did. The what's his name now? Like the mayor or whatever of Genoa constantly is saying, "I want you to give me money back because you brought, you know, you using all this, and it's the St. George's cross, as you know." So St. George's cross. I'll just do cross for you again. 11. So people can say I'm doing it wrong, and I could well be, but why is it coming up with all this? Does, you know what I mean? It's hiding things right for the, you know, in our example. And that's the Old England flag. That's what it should be. That's the Old England flag.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So these things just intrigue me. It's like, why do we have the white background with the red cross? And it's Genoa. That's where we get it from. And as you know, there's the Vatican, there's City of London, and then there's Washington, D.C., like 3 separate entities that people talk about. And you all have them colours. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Like, is it just me? Again, I always say to me, why is it I'm finding and seeing this? And sometimes it's like you are making this up. And I always ask people, please just look, because surely this can't be. You know, it just really, really excites me, and that's why I really do get excited, guys.
No, I do think
some more stuff on my phone, like, you know what I mean. It's, you know what I mean. You find stuff like this and in Egypt, and you know, they're showing you. It's always been there. So when they show you a multiple-headed god, it's the same entity.
Is that a 2-headed dog that you just put up?
That is a 4-headed ram.
Oh, a ram. Okay.
Yeah,
I was just curious because I don't know if anyone saw what the rapper Drake posted recently. I think it was today. Hold on. Let me get it up so I can show you guys. Oh, sorry. 1 second. So he put out a new song, something to do with dogs. And this is what he posted. Because when you're talking about the rabbit ears before, I was like,
creepy,
oh, God. Creepy. So his son drew this. His son is like 6 or 5. Like, he's young. His son drew that, and he used it for the album art. And it says, "For all the dogs." And I was like, bro, what is that? And what is Drake's thing that he has? OVO. Zeros. The CV, the 2 pikes.
There you go. There's Genoa's flag.
I see.
You know, so that's where I originally found it, and I'm like, yeah, I know about Janus, yeah, because of January, and that thing was on about you before about that the book. There it is. She talked about the double-headed god and where the seal was first found in Hittites. You know what I mean? So I have it all learned, and like I said, you'll get it everywhere. And like I said, why am I seeing it? I mean, there for a reason. And originally, I found out this out only last year that my birthday is a ritual to Janus that day. So is that why I seem to be seeing it for a reason to show people? I don't know. And I was born, right, on the Pillars of Hercules. That's where I was born, the Pillars of Hercules. So you can see the Pillars of Hercules. So there's the 11. And I was born on the rock on the day it was a ritual to Janus. And I'm like, really? I didn't, you know what I mean?
It was meant to be for you.
Yeah. And we all have them topics. So we like, are we supposed to see this? You know what I mean? It's like, really? So yeah, that's what you'll find with me. I'm honest. I'll show you what I find, and if I find something that contradicts it, I'll say, guys, look at that contradicts that. You know what I mean? I'm not, I don't lie, and I'm like, guys, just check it out. And most of the guys I can see in the chat now have, you know what I mean, done it, and it's like, it just intrigues me. You know what I mean? And you will find that these numbers, like I said, people focus on 33, you know, because of obviously Freemasonry, and they forget about 11. And you notice what it's 33, but 3 11s.
11, 22, and 33 is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you even have it.
Well, sometimes I even think the doubling of the numbers still goes back to the 11 with that being double.
Mm-hmm.
So you even have it in your flag. And your dates, those 9 rows, 11 columns and 13 stripes is Lemuria, the Festival of Dead. And that is a Roman festival. You know what I mean? So it's funny that you have it on your, you know, the United States flag. And these things are just blow me away when I find it, and I will post it. And I'm not lying now, when people have seen it, I get attacked really bad because people will type in Google. If you type in Google now, who is Janus, and say, Janus is an insignificant god, basically nothing. That's what it says. So when I'm posting this, say, well, you're lying, you've doctored that, you've done this, you've done that. And I'm like, go look for yourself.
Yeah, of course Google would say that. Why am I getting attacked
by so-called people in the community for posting this?
You know, I've tried to, I guess, like, post it at times and try to show Janus symbolism, is because I do think it's heavily embedded in a lot of occult symbolism. And I think that's sometimes why you can even get a pushback from people, is because, like, one, it can go against, like, their beliefs, or it goes against, like, someone or something that they're already kind of infatuated with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that kind of fucks them up to look at it differently.
Yeah. Well, there's one you said before, Paul, that the book about the double-headed god was from the Hittites.
The seal, yeah, that's when it first kind
of popped up. Yeah, interestingly, in the Bible, there's a part in the book of Joshua where it says the Lord commanded the Israelites to destroy the Hittites along with the other children of Canaan. So maybe he didn't like that double-headed god stuff.
And that's what we were on about before. Pineal gland. Oh, yeah. That also is 11 in Gematria, but also has 11 letters.
Word.
You know what I mean? So this is why there's people who don't know me in the Chan thing and go, this guy's just, why is he showing you all this stuff? It's like, for a reason, because I find it, and I'm asking you guys, do you generally understand and see it? Because there's them what I was talking about, the islands before. There's Janus, that one's in Greenland.
Bugged out.
You know what I mean? And there's the one in Antarctica, Janus Island. And the island at the side of it's called, is it Gateway or Secret Passage or something weird like that? So it's, you know, it's talking about God of Doors next to the Gateway, you know, and it's, why it's like when, you know, big channels and you see them on TikTok and different things talking about there's more land. I've been telling people for 3-4 years about, okay, if there's more land, how would you get to it? Doorways, portals, Paul. Okay, who's the God of Doors and portals? No, I'm not listening. Okay, but what if they have 2 islands named after him? No, I'm not listening. So they don't want to know. So wouldn't you think if you was making a video...
It's really bugged out to me. Yeah, that's very weird to me.
You would include it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's the funny things, because I do make memes as well. I mean, look how funny that is. Pfizer in Latin means Viagra. How funny is that? So they actually call Viagra the company. So in Latin, it means Viagra. You know, so the stiff in the neck. You know what I mean? So this is the thing. Like I said, one of my memes, and I'm proud of it because a guy suggested it to me. Paul, can you make a meme of Bill Gates with needle syringe hand? And look how viral that went. So I made that, and Ice Cube and all these celebrities are posting it. And I only made that because a guy suggested it to me. So, you know what I mean? Again.
Well, no, that stuff will always go viral over something that people have to
sure.
think about. Yeah, no, I understand.
As they say, blessed are the meme makers this time in history.
But Paul, for real, when it comes to this topic, I really do think you have put out some of the best work on it. I really do think that. And again, I learned a lot from it, and things that you pointed out to me due to occultism and understanding magic the way I do and from my experiences, I think you nailed it with a lot of the Janus stuff. And again, if it has to do with having a magical experience, I think it's going to be hidden but deeply used.
Do you remember that ritual with people dying?
Yes.
Nobody got on his top.
The
They're all
doorway.
walking through the door.
Yep. The whole stage was a gigantic portal.
Yep.
Behind
So
it.
they're showing you.
And the
And also-
Phoenix came on top in the beginning. It was a giant firebird right when he first came out. I got a whole deep dive on that.
So you can just say, why doesn't it get talked about? You know what I mean? And that's my only concern. If you can look at it and you might not like it and you might think it's rubbish, crap, whatever you want to call it, fair enough. But just look.
No,
You know, sometimes you can't understand me and I get excited. I do. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm just like you guys. You know what I mean? And I'm easy excitable when I find something and I'll show people.
it is exciting, of course.
Yeah, no, it's because it's very weird, and I really, you know, I guess because I do see it myself, I do think you're onto something with that. I do think there is tons and tons and tons, especially in architecture.
Yeah.
I do think you will see just different depictions of showing duality, which is really going back to Janus in itself. I think just the fact of duality, that is Janus. You know, so you see that constantly.
Yeah, you see it everywhere, especially doors. Can I ask you, I've asked, every time I go on someone's show, I ask this question. Be honest, not just for me, but have you ever sat in your room now, we'll let you out, and you thought, you know what, I'm going to go and get something from the fridge or go next door. You walked through the door and you forgot what you were going to go for. Now, if I said to you, science has actually said that is actually something real. And do you know what it's called? The doorway effect. Right. So you're walking through a door and you forget your memories. And it adds to 11. I've done a video on it. The doorway effect.
Come on. Oh my God.
That's bugged out.
You know what I mean? And if
I
you
was
break
even
the
thinking
law,
about the whole thing with
I'm
the
not saying
ledge.
that you do,
The ledge can
but-
even go back to the fool.
Yeah, the police have to come, don't they? With a warrant. That warrant's not for you. That warrant's permission to get through the door. Like a vampire can't come through the door because it's Janus's door. And in that old video I'll show you, it says Janus taught humans how to build walls, how to live with the law, and so on and so on. So these old things are just showing you, and you know, you don't have to take it on board. It's just another opinion, you know, to put to your own theories, because you might have listened to something today in the chat and you guys and think, you know what, next video I'm doing that, and I'll just look at that because of what Paul said, and wow, look what I found. So it's like opening up doors in your head of thoughts and memories, and that is the beauty of everything. It's, you know what I mean? That's just the beauty of being in the community and seeing all these things. Because surely we're there to give each other, you know, heads up and guess what? Have you ever heard of this guy? And that's the beauty of it. So that's one. When I originally found Janus, I was just looking at something different, Tartaria, found Genoa. And why is this guy all over the place in Genoa? Genoa, you know what I mean? The Knights Temple had a headquarters there. The Knights Hospital had headquarters there. the so-called head of John the Baptist came there. You know what I mean? So this place was significant in history, yet it's only so-called a little, a little island. You know what I mean? And not a little island, but a little place. And you know what I mean? And these had colonies all over the world. It's like, wow. You know what I mean? So these were a great power, like the Venetians. In the time it was the Venetians and Genoa, they were always at war together. You know what I mean? So that's, if you don't look at something different with different new eyes, you're never going to find anything, because it's all about perspective. You know what I mean? So when you look at this topic today, you look at it like that. Now maybe tomorrow you look at it and say, you know what, I was talking with Paul last night and I can't stop seeing bloody 2 heads or 3 heads or 4 heads or Janus, because I've opened the door. And it's up to you if you want to go through it to see it. People are talking about a specific event in your history. 9/11. What's 9 add 2? 9 add 11 is 11. You know what I mean? So the towers actually, it's 11. New York is the 11th state. Mm-hmm. And I did a video on that showing you all the 11s. American Airlines. A in the alphabet is 1.
1-1.
1-1. Yeah, honestly, you won't believe how crazy it is when you know what I mean, and you start looking at it differently. You know, Al Capone and how many years he got. So you start looking at when you start looking into the media and things, you can see that term, that number all the time, like added to it, and it'll drive you crazy if you don't actually look into it. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, you know what I mean? You got me excited now. I was only going to come on for just over an hour, and we're an hour and 50.
I know. I was just saying that before. I was lucky enough to get him on for longer than an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. People want me to go on more things, but honestly, when I tell you, I've promised to go on a few shows when I can, because I've got a really old computer. It's held together with tape and different things, you know what I mean? So it keeps. I've got fast internet, if that's a plus, but you know what I mean. Everything else is breaking down around me, but I do appreciate it. And you know what? I'll go now, because obviously you're thinking, God, this guy's not showing up. So
no, not
ask me anything before I go. Please ask away quickly.
Actually, no. I think that was good, because I was hoping that we'd come back and then we just wrap it up anyway. Only because she also does have to get going eventually as well. You have stuff to do with the kids. One, I just want to promote your Janus series. Please, people, go check it out if you're interested. I really do think the man is onto something. Again, he's showing us there more 6 and 5, equaling 11. I do think you're onto something there, and again, I do think it's a very highly occulted, deeply hidden idea, I think, of what Janus really is. And I think he shows you a good example of how that stuff is kind of the base of a lot of occult symbolism. That's
what I was going to tell you. Occult as well is also 11 in gematria, if remembered right.
Oh, wow.
And you can even go that far and put occult world.
Yeah.
So both occult and occult world are 11 in gematria.
Yo, you want to let everybody know where they can find your stuff? Plug all your stuff. I already have your YouTube. I think I have your Twitter and your Instagram at the bottom, but plug all that and let everybody know. Yeah,
so if you can find me, that's if you can find me, because I am like a hermit. If you want to find me, you can look at me YouTube, which is What the Flock TV. I'm on Twitter and Instagram under the same name. Like I said, I try and make videos. Like I say, if people don't understand why I don't make as much or appear on shows, is I care for my mother 24/7. You know, so I find time is very hard and precious. So if you know what I mean, it's not like bigging you up, but you know what I mean. I promised you, and if I say to you guys, I promise you, I will do a show. I mean, I will do a show.
Yes, he did. He did. He promised me, and he finally made it happen.
There's a few people that I've also promised in the chat of shows, and I will do them. It's just very hard, and so you find me What the Flock TV, Odyssey, What the Flock TV, but there's not many on it. Or you can find me really, 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 really old stuff under the Black Sheep Researcher on there. But I just appreciate you guys taking time out your day.
No, thank you.
Sitting there like, he won't shut up, will he?
No, listen. I loved all the stuff you did on this topic, so I was happy with everything that you said.
I mean, I could go on this for long. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. And that, like I said, I just want to share people like my experiences and it's up to you whether you believe I'm onto something.
And I do also want to mention, besides the Janus stuff, I think he actually has some very interesting stuff on Seagate. He has stuff on the chakras. Like, that's not like his, he wasn't a one-trick pony with Janus.
No.
He has a lot of stuff that I actually think is very interesting, and I hope maybe in the future you can come back on again and cover something else that you've done on your channel, because you do have a lot of other stuff that I think is really good.
If you want me to quickly go through them, I'll quickly, because I know time is precious.
Yeah, no, run off. Let people know what else you've covered.
Last video I did was Gifts of Hera, and that was about 5G, and how the new variant is called Egg.5, which is 5G backwards. And they've renamed it Eris, which is Hera's daughter. And I did a Latin converter of 5G, and it's spelled Quinque Hercule, which is Hercules, right? But Hercules is named after Hera. Glorious gift of Hera. So I did that. I did something on the UN. I've done the Dendera light bulbs, showing you could there be incubation pods, because if you look at the serpents in them, they have eyes and gills. I know people say, well, that is, showing electric and it's a current, but what if it's not? Think about it. Why is Dendera a fertility temple? No one talks about that. It's a fertility temple. So it makes sense they're not light bulbs, but incubation or some form of sperm or so on, because they have eyes. And also Bez is Egyptian god of fertility. He protects people in childbirth. He protects the woman and the child. He's guarding the temple. You know what I mean? So they're the things that I talk about, and I just offer a different opinion. It's like showing you that in antiquity, the North Star, people talk about Polaris. Polaris hasn't always been the North Star. In antiquity, it was Thuban. Thuban is in Draconis, the serpent. So anytime Egypt was at its peak, they were actually worshipping the serpent. That's why you get a lot of serpent worship around the place. A big topic, the I and J, all on maps coins, is basically Janus's name. I've done that. I've done about water, cymatics. People are throwing the image of Vatican, saying the Vatican was named after. No such thing, it's not. That's actually a different god. It was actually Juno Sapita. So these things that I talk about, Mount Meru being actually us, Stonehenge have done. There's actually loads and loads of stuff.
Yeah, you have covered a lot of stuff. Yeah, as I wanted people to know that, and I think you were just only Janus.
Yeah, it's atmospheric memory. If anyone's into thinking why, because I've just talked about the doorway effect. You go through a door. Where is your thoughts kept? Is it in your head, or is it stored somewhere else? And scientists in ancient times said it was kept in the cloud. So these types of things I talk about. So it's not just Janus. I am out there at times, but I just show you what I find. You know what I mean? It's that basic. If I find something saying it's this, there you go, guys. That's the picture I've painted. But these people didn't like it. You know what I mean? So there's loads of stuff. And I mean, people enjoy it.
Yeah,
so I must be doing something right.
I honestly think the people that listen to my show, if they haven't heard who you are yet, I really do think you have plenty of stuff that they will definitely find interesting, because you definitely have a style that I understand and I get. So I just want to let people know to definitely go check out his other stuff besides the Janus. And if you did enjoy this episode with him talking about Janus, I highly suggest The Usual Suspects. Go check that one out that he did. All his links are in the bottom, and the links for the Spiritual Gangsters, which I co-host with Teresa, that amazing, there we go. There's some of the things he has. The Occultist. He has that, and we have the Spiritual Gangster links in the bottom for her show as well, for her own link tree that has all of her links in there as well, besides the one on my link tree. And we have all your links in the bottom too as well, Paul. And I want to thank everybody in the chat on this live. That's what's up. We had a bunch of people in here. We had the usual suspects chiming in and adding all the great stuff that I like to see. And, we just had a lot of the usual names. And what's up to all the new names that I saw as well. Thank you very much for checking out this show. I appreciated it. And if you're a listener of his channel and you're finding out about me for the first time, I think you'll enjoy my stuff. So come check out my channel as well. And, and until the next one, everybody be well. Later.